Hi guys, welcome to another audio video, and I'll be reading Judges 20 of the King James Version Bible. And it reads, Then all the children of Israel went out, and the congregation was gathered together as one man, from Dan even to Beersheba, with the land of Gilead, unto the Lord in Mizpeh. And the chief of all the people, even of all the tribes of Israel, presented themselves in the assembly of the people of God, 400,000 footmen that drew sword. Now the children of Benjamin heard that the children of Israel were gone up to Mizpeh. Then said the children of Israel, Tell us, how was this wickedness? And the Levite, the husband of the woman that was slain, answered and said, I came into Gibeah that belongeth to Benjamin, I and my concubine to lodge. And the men of Gibeah rose against me, rose against me, and beset the house round about upon me by night, and thought to have slain me, and my concubine have they forced that she is dead. And I took my concubine, and cut her in pieces, and sent her throughout all the country of the inheritance of Israel, for they have committed lewdness and folly in Israel. Behold, ye are all children of Israel, give here your advice and counsel. And all the people arose as one man, saying, We will not any of us go to his tent, neither will any of us turn into his house. But now this shall be the thing which we will do to Gibeah. We will go up by lot against it, and we will take 10 men of 100 throughout all the tribes of Israel, and 100 of 1,000, and 1,000 of 10 out of 10,000, to fetch victual for the people, that they may do when they come to Gibeah of Benjamin, according to all the folly that they have wrought in Israel. So all the men of Israel were gathered against the city, knit together as one man. And the tribes of Israel sent men through all the tribe of Benjamin, saying, What wickedness is this that is done among you? Now therefore deliver us the men, the children of Belial, which are in Gibeah, that we may put them to death, and put away evil from Israel. But the children of Benjamin would not hearken to the voice of their brethren, the children of Israel. But the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together out of the city unto Gibeah, to go out to battle against the children of Israel. And the children of Benjamin were numbered at that time out of the cities 26,000 men that drew sword, beside the inhabitants of Gibeah, which were numbered 700 chosen men. Among all the people there were 700 chosen men left-handed, every one could sling stones at his hairbreadth, and not miss. And the men of Israel beside Benjamin were numbered 400,000 men, and drew sword. All these were men of war. And the children of Israel rose and went up to the house of God, and asked counsel of God, and said, Which of us shall go up first to the battle against the children of Benjamin? And the Lord said, Judah shall go up first. And the children of Israel rose up in the morning, and encamped against Gibeah. And the men of Israel went out to battle against Benjamin, and the men of Israel put themselves in array to fight against them at Gibeah. And the children of Benjamin came forth out of Gibeah, and destroyed down to the ground of the Israelites that day 22,000 men. And the people, the men of Israel, encouraged themselves, and set their battle again in array in the place where they put themselves in array the first day. And the children of Israel went up and wept before the Lord until even, and asked counsel of the Lord, saying, Shall I go up again to battle against the children of Benjamin my brother? And the Lord said, Go up against him. And the children of Israel came near against the children of Benjamin the second day. And Benjamin went forth against them out of Gibeah the second day, and destroyed down to the ground of the children of Israel again 18,000 men. All these drew the sword. Then all the children of Israel and all the people went up and came unto the house of God and wept, and sat there before the Lord, and fasted that day until even, and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord. And the children of Israel inquired of the Lord, for the ark of the covenant of God was there in those days. And Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, stood before it in those days, saying, Shall I yet again go out to battle against the children of Benjamin my brother, or shall I cease? And the Lord said, Go up, for tomorrow I will deliver them into thine hand. And Israel set liers in wait round about Gibeah. And the children of Israel went up against the children of Benjamin on the third day, and put themselves in array against Gibeah, as at other times. And the children of Benjamin went out against the people, and were drawn away from the city, and they began to smite of the people, and kill, as at other times, in the highways, of which one goeth up to the house of God, and the other to Gibeah in the field, about 30 men of Israel. And the children of Benjamin said, They are smitten down before us, as at the first. But the children of Israel said, Let us flee, and draw them from the city unto the highways. And all the men of Israel rose up out of their place, and put themselves in array at Baal Tamar. And the liers in wait of Israel came forth out of their places, even out of the meadows of Gibeah. And there came against Gibeah 10,000 chosen men out of all Israel, and the battle was sore, but they knew not that evil was near them. And the Lord smote Benjamin before Israel, and the children of Israel destroyed the Benjamites that day 25,000 and 100 men. All these drew the sword. So the children of Benjamin saw that they were smitten, for the men of Israel gave place to the Benjamites, because they trusted unto the liers in wait which they had set beside Gibeah. And the liers in wait hasted and rushed upon Gibeah, and the liers in wait drew themselves along, and smote all the city with the edge of the sword. Now there was an appointed sign between the men of Israel and the liers in wait, that they should make a great flame with smoke rise up out of the city. And when the men of Israel retired in the battle, Benjamin began to smite and kill of the men of Israel about 30 persons, for they said, Surely they are smitten down before us, as in the first battle. But when the flame began to arise up out of the city with a pillar of smoke, the Benjamites looked behind them, and behold, the flame of the city ascended up to heaven. And when the men of Israel turned again, the men of Benjamin were amazed, for they saw that evil was come upon them. Therefore they turned their backs before the men of Israel unto the way of the wilderness, but the battle overtook them, and them which came out of the cities they destroyed in the midst of them. Thus they enclosed the Benjamites round about, and chased them, and trod them down with ease over against Gibeah toward the sunrising. And there fell of Benjamin 18,000 men. All these were men of valor. And they turned and fled toward the wilderness unto the rock of Rimmon. And they gleaned of them in the highways 5,000 men, and pursued hard after them unto Gidom, and slew 2,000 men of them. So that all which fell that day of Benjamin were 25,000 men that drew the sword. All these were men of valor. But 600 men turned and fled to the wilderness unto the rock Rimmon, and abode in the rock Rimmon 4 months. And the men of Israel turned again upon the children of Benjamin, and smote them with the edge of the sword, as well the men of the city, of every city, as the beasts, and all that came to hand. Also they set on fire all the cities that they came to. Alright guys, so Here we see where the children of Israel decided that this was indeed a terrible thing that the Benjamites did unto the man from Mount Ephraim and his concubine. Okay, and we recall that in the scriptures it had said that they were supposed to be their brother's keeper, and if they saw their brother's belongings out and about, they should keep it with themselves until their brother seek after it and came after it. So it was in their statutes that they should protect their brothers and their brother's property. Okay, and they did not do so, and they did vilely unto the concubine, and that ended in her death. And so the other children of Israel decided that they were going to raise up against them and fight against them, but they did not do it of their own accord. Okay, they asked the Lord for his input. Okay, and this guys, if you look at it, it was not the 300 years after. I just came to the realization, I'm sorry. Right? So this was a time prior to many things that we saw happening. That's just how the Bible goes. It doesn't flow with any exact timing. Okay? You'll have certain stories being told here, and then you'll see stories that are 100 years down the line being told before this one is being told. That's just how the Bible is. So you have to ask God for understanding when you're reading the Bible. Okay? You can't just take it at face value, just like that. All right, so this battle had occurred before the children of Israel have obviously forsaken God, because here we see that they went, even after going up in battle on the first day, they went and they wept and they asked God what they should do. They asked for God's guidance. They gave burnt offerings, they gave sacrifices, peace offerings. Okay, they asked God for his guidance, and this alone should have spoken to you and told you that this was not talking about the time. This was talking of a time before Samson, a time before even basically the judges. Okay, well, not before the judges, because there were judges here. That's why it's in the book of Judges, right? But the Bible is not compiled per se in a successive manner, but more so of the what it actually entails. So what is being spoken about. That's what my realization was. I don't know about everybody else that studies theology and all that and what they came up with, but that's what I get from the Bible. Okay, when I read the Bible, I see that everything is not laid out in a sequential pattern, saying, oh, from the very first part to the very last part. Yes, it did begin in Genesis, where it told us how the earth was made. But even in Genesis, it kept leaping back and forth between a time when they were in the garden to a time where they were outside the garden. And then it told different things, okay? It told of a time ahead of that time when they just exited the Garden of Eden to a time where they just exited the Garden of Eden. If you understand what I'm saying. So it's not, the Bible is not, you shouldn't just take it at face value like that, saying okay, like it's sequential. Okay, it's not like that. That's why you need to read the Bible with understanding, and you need to ask God to help you to understand what you're reading. And this was displayed in this very chapter here. Okay, showing that it was from a different time. The fact that they actually listen to God and seek out God for guidance. Okay, this is from a different period. The thing I'm not certain of per se, I'm not 100% sure of, is where it was, whether it's after the time of most of the judges that we know about, and before the well, based on what was said here, it's shown that it's before. Basically, it's assumed that it's before the time when they forsook God and his counsel. Okay, but there's also another part also where they will come to listen to God as well, and there was some transitioning, and so That's the thing I'm not 100% sure of, if it's before the transition or after the transition. Okay, so I'm not going to lead you astray and say it's definitely before the transition or whatever. Okay, so I'll check on that for you guys though. Okay, hopefully I am reminded, the spirit will remind me to look at that. Okay, but yeah, based on also the fact that it actually spoke about the son of Eleazar. The son of Eleazar would have came, Phineas, the son of Eleazar would have actually came after Aaron. And we remember that Eleazar was around when Moses was still alive. Okay, guys, so there you have it. That's what tells you that is basically not that period after the 300 years. Okay, so y'all can't crucify me. This is the word I'm reading. I'm reading from the Bible here. And as you can see, I'm in Judges 20. I'm not back in Exodus. I'm not back in Leviticus. I'm not back in Numbers. Okay, guys? I'm in Judges. Okay? So you can see for yourself. So that's why we need to read the Bible with understanding. Okay? But we see where it is a time where they seek God's guidance. They were still walking with God, and they were not yet lovers of themselves fully. Okay, because they did seek out God, and they cried and they wept, and they said, God, should we go up against our brother again? Because of this cruel thing that they did. They were still asking, because it was in their scriptures that they should not fight against their brothers. Okay, love our neighbors as thyself, but not that specific. It was specific to them, how they should actually treat each other as brethren. Okay, so if you find raiment belongs to your brother, you keep it until you saw your brother, or your brother came to seek it out, and you give it to them at such a point. But you wouldn't keep it for yourself, because it's your brother's, it's not yours. Okay, so it's not a finders keepers, losers weepers thing. Okay, so God preached unity and oneness. And if you recall, at the very beginning of this chapter, right, it said that they came together as one man. Okay, it did say it. I'm looking for the exact, here it is. They were to gather the congregation. Then all the children of Israel went out, and the congregation was gathered together as one man. So they're basically incorporating the spirit of oneness that God had initially intended for all the children of Israel, and the fact that the Benjamites went against this very fundamental principle of the Israelites was actually something very cruel, and so they had to remedy it. Hence the reason why they went and fought against the Benjamites. But they did not like doing this. It pained them to do this, and so they wept to God and asked him if they should still continue with the fight. Okay, alright guys, and God will do that for a lot of people, and you need to do it. You need to follow through with what God says you're supposed to do. Okay, sometimes God will tell you to cut off your family. Sometimes God will send you to fight against your family for his sake, not for your sake or for any petty thing that you have, for any selfish intentions. Okay, but for his glory and for his sake. Alright guys, so guys, I'm gonna leave you right here. Okay, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification so you're alerted to whenever a new audio video is posted. Okay guys, and please don't forget to share your thoughts, your revelations, and your comments down below in the comment section. Okay, and please ignore the noise. This is another day. Okay, but there's always noise around. Okay, and I just hope you got the message. The message was well received. Okay guys, alright guys, please remember to keep your salvation. Okay, and if you've not yet gained it, seek it. There's no better time to begin than the present. Have yourselves a blessed day. Bye.